We're gonna get started. Sorry. All right, well, good evening and welcome to our first ever Youth Candidate Forum. Real quick, I'd like to recognize State Representative Alan Sylvia and Superintendent Meg Mayo Brown for joining us. Okay, my name is Jessica Wong. I am the SCI AmeriCorps at United Neighbors and Partners for a Healthier Community. The reason why I'm welcoming everybody is because about 5 to 7 years ago, I was sitting in these exact seats where these students are today. So I'd like to give a round of applause for these students. I'd like to give a little background about myself. I am a Durfee alumni. I graduated in 2010. Growing up, I faced a lot of racism and bullying between middle school and elementary school. Far too often, these kind of issues get swept under the rug. My brother was also a gang member, so that had a tremendous effect on me and my family. If it wasn't for Peaceful Coalition, Team Fresh, Youth Voice, United Neighbors, I wouldn't be standing here today. I was also one of the writers for the Youth Bill of Rights. Let's see. And after Durfee, I went up to UMass Amherst and I studied political science. And I thought, I really want to give back to my community. So, because of Anne-Marie Sharkey, I wanted to get into AmeriCorps. Now, AmeriCorps is basically a nationwide community service. You're giving a year of your life back to your community. So this is why I'm in AmeriCorps. I'm really excited to be back in my hometown to give back and make a difference with these students. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Wendy Garcliffe and Tyra. They will be our moderators for this evening, and I'll hand it over to them.
This is a different kind of format than a normal candidate debate. This is an opportunity for you to listen to what the youth of our city have to say, and then you'll have some chances to ask them some questions, and then at the end we'll ask you each to speak and talk about some of the things that they have brought up. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Vanessa.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Smith, and I am 16 years old. I've always been a woman of size, and I've struggled with my body image and self-hate all of my life. I really had no one to help me through it. Greater Fall River Recreation and the 84 movement has helped me find myself and what I value. The 84 movement is an organization that deals with teen smoking. 84 represents the 84% of teens that do not smoke. But in the past few years, we have raised this to 89%. Although I have a much better view of myself now, I had to undergo great hardships to get there. That includes eating disorders and self-harm. Every morning, I would get up and go through a mental checklist. Did my clothes cover me? Did my clothes de-emphasize my size? Did my clothes cover my self-harm scars? What a way to start the day. I am lucky that the 84 movement in Greater Fall River Recreation has been a stable and supportive environment for me, but there are a lot of youth out there that have not found this support. We need a platform where youth can voice their opinions and be heard by people in power. We need more education for students, faculty, and administration on the issues of self-harm and the best way to prevent it before it happens. We need a place where we can discuss body image and health and how we perceive ourselves and others. I would like to see a school-based support group where kids can reach out to their peers without shame or fear. I came through my struggles, but know that many still deal with these issues and have nowhere to turn. I represent the future of Fall River. The people in Fall River come in all sizes, shapes, colors, and religions. Everyone should be accepted for who he or she is rather than how they look. This is an important lesson that needs to be a central part of what the school department provides for its youth.
Thank you, Vanessa. We'll move to Deshaun.
Hello, everybody. I'm Deshaun Barrows, and I'm 17 years old, sorry. I represent the Boys and Girls Club, Fall River. I've been an athlete my whole life. I've struggled with it. I've worked so hard at it. I've even made it my hope, my dreams. Everything was in the sports. I loved it so much. I saw my life in front of me, with lots of opportunity and dreams and hopes. Playing at Durfee, getting an athletic scholarship to college, and even making it to the NBA. Sometimes when you play sports, people assume that all you do is sports, and that's it, and you're not interested in anything else. My hopes slipped away from me when I tore my ACL back in freshman year. I tried out for the football team, I made it, but sadly, I ended up tearing my ACL the third game of the season. So I didn't know how to cope with it. I turned to girls, drugs, drinking, all that other stuff that wasn't filling that void that was inside of me. So how did I change? God helped me change. My relationship with God has helped me and made me stronger and grounded me so that I don't slip away, that my hopes won't slip away, that my dreams won't slip away if I keep them in the Lord. My belief in God helps me to find things that leaders need to have. Leaders need to have the attributes of God. That means love, forgiveness, compassionate to those who stumble and demonstrate heartache. They should lead with integrity and demonstrate all things with peace and love and kindness. Sorry, guys. And lastly, I would ask that you guys, as leaders of Fall River, to be examples to our youth and to also support networks that support youth, like nonviolence organizations and the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deshaun. We'll now turn to Ava.
Hi, my name is Ava and I'm 14 years old. I have lived in Fall River all my life. During this time, I have seen all kinds of things. I have seen the city grow and change while some things stay the same. But the one thing that I have seen, the one thing that truly affects me, is the problem with unemployment. My father had lost his job when I was 8 years old. This loss has had a dramatic effect on my life and that of my family. It has been a constant struggle without the financial means to do so. A few things that have remained constant. First, there is never enough money. There wasn't enough money even when my father had a job. Now it's worse. I remember when I was much younger, I was invited to a birthday party. My father had just gone out of work when he had to bring me and my siblings to the party. The birthday gift we had purchased was a Crayola coloring set. When the boy opened it, he rejected it with a statement saying, "You should have gotten me something Superman related." They knew we couldn't afford something else. We rely a lot on my mom, and she has a mental disability. She dropped out of high school, and that is the main reason that she's not able to get a job. It saddens me to see my father, a man who's only trying to care for his family, not be able to find a job to support me, my mom, my brother, and my sister. I worry that if my parents can't find jobs in Fall River, what does the future hold for me? Where will I get a job? If adults are unemployed, what hope is there for youth employment? I ask that you consider creating a new initiative that includes the city government, business, and youth voice to create employment opportunities for all.
Our panelists and a number of other youth conducted a survey among their peers in both the middle schools and the high schools, and we received 717 respondents to the survey. The top 6 issues that youth felt were important for them were the following:
alcohol and substance abuse, safe places outside of school,
gang violence and pressure, school challenges such as academics, testing, and class size, lack of positive role models, discrimination, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning, racism, and bullying.
Thank you, Tara. We'll move to our next speaker, Samaya.
Hello, my name is Sumaya. I am a 13-year-old 8th grader at Talbot, and I am not a terrorist. But yet, many students in my school had often called me one because I wear a hijab. Often, I got told to go back to my country or that I don't belong here. This is a small indicator of what students that may look different, act different, or believe differently have to face in the Fall River public schools. When I was in elementary school, I also got made fun of because I stuttered. When I raised my hand to read or answer a question, students would say, "Gosh, this is going to take so long," or they would give me that look. It hurt, quite a lot as well. The year after I got an insane number of terrorist remarks, I was in the 7th grade. I talked to my principal and asked if I could give a presentation to the other students at an assembly. I explained to the students that I am not a terrorist, that I have the same personality with or without my hijab, and that I am proud of wearing it. I also defined to students the purpose of wearing the hijab, which is for modesty, and because we should not be liked just because of our appearance, but because of our personality. I explained the consequences of bullying, the long-term effects of bullying, and I always threw in a couple of statistics. I soon was able to do assemblies, or presentations you guys can call it, at a couple of other schools. And at the end of the assemblies, students would always come up to me and ask me for advice on their own bullying situations, or they would tell me a part of their story as a victim. This clearly shows that we have not only a school-wide problem, but a district-wide problem with bullying, racism, and discrimination. I'm thankful for the opportunity to have spoken out. However, the bullying still continues to happen to me and to many other students in the Fall River public school system. Although many schools have bullying programs, clearly they are not always enforced or comprehensive to end bullying in Fall River. I think that teachers should attend mandatory staff training meetings. Teachers should be trained on dealing with cultural sensitivity, discrimination, racism, and prejudice. Teachers and staff should be required to have training on implicit bias and microaggression as well. And teachers should also have training on enforcement of already established policies. I also think that we should have a city council representative on board with the anti-racism committee, which is a part of United Neighbors of Fall River. More education around bullying, more support for survivors, more enforcement of policy, and more opportunities to confront and connect with diverse people.
Thank you, Samaya. We'll turn to Alexandra.
Hello, my name is Alexandra Cedino Correa. I am currently in BMC Durfee High School. I am here today to speak about who I am, the things in my life have influenced me as a person, and to address change that could be made in our city to better the youth of Fall River community. I grew up in a rough environment, living in a broken family with abusive parents. Our mother did not see us as a priority, didn't treat us how a mother should treat her children, so we moved in with our father, where we lived for 3 years, assuming our situation would get better, which it did not. Our father abused us and engaged in illegal activities throughout our time living there. Things got progressively worse until one night we got in an altercation and we found ourselves in DCF custody. I now live in a foster home with my twin sister Nicole and 4 other foster kids. I would like to thank Nicole for being there, the only person in my life that has always been by my side through everything I have been through in my 16 years, and I truly love her for being there for me. I thank my foster mother Doris, who put a roof over my head, clothes on my back, and food in my stomach. She gave me a better life and has showed me love and support for the year that I have lived in her home. I would also like to thank my fellow ROTC cadets for building up my character and making me a leader, and giving me the confidence in myself. Lastly, I would like to thank my boyfriend for sticking by my side and motivating me to be a better, more successful person. A great resource that can be implemented would be to create a place for children and young adults that are in foster care or abusive situations where they can gather to discuss things happening in their lives and to care for and empathize with one another to help get through the difficulties they may be facing currently or have gone through in their past. Although the Department of Children and Families offers support to foster youth, this issue impacts lots of kids, some in DCF custody and others that are not. We need a safe and comfortable space to connect with our peers.
We'll turn to Brandon.
Hi, my name is Brandon Pankowski. I'm 23 years old. I made some bad decisions in my past. I was involved in the law, disappointed my friends and family, scared the living hell out of them. I was violent, always getting into fights, playing with weapons, and other things I don't care to discuss. The way my life was going was clearly changing for the worst. I was on a downward spiral heading nowhere. I thought I was either going to be dead or in jail. When I finally realized how much pain I put my family and friends through, the fact that I had nothing, no hope, no future, I knew I had to change. I got involved with the Charles E. Shannon Anti-Violence Initiative. I became part of a group of guys that were just like me. They understood where I came from and the destructive path that I was on. Shannon serves about 100 youth in Fall River, but there are way more than that. Funding for more anti-violence programs that work directly with the youth can make a difference. Look at me now. I'm more peaceful, on a better path, changing my life for the better. And now a registered voter. Help support more programs like Shannon.
Thank you, Brandon. Cheyenne?
Hi, my name is Cheyenne and I'm 17 years old. For as long as I can remember, teachers have danced around LGBTQ+ issues, treating the word like it's inappropriate and like it's not relevant. By doing this, they alienate LGBTQ+ youth like they don't even exist. But here I am, an LGBTQ+ youth right here in front of you. I wasn't even aware of the Gay-Straight Alliance until my sophomore year, and my freshman health class pretended like LGBTQ+ students didn't exist. Can you imagine feeling so marginalized that people are afraid to even name you? For years, different groups such as women and African Americans were marginalized in education, and now history is repeating itself. 8 to 9 million people in the US fit into the LGBTQ+ community. 8 to 9 million. How can we ignore such a significant portion of our population? Not only do I want to see the schools revise their curriculum to include LGBTQ+ issues, but also celebrating the accomplishments, reviewing the history of the movements, and giving the community the respect they deserve because of their contribution to the evolving of America. I am here, and I'm not going anywhere, and I won't be ignored or marginalized. Make Fall River Public Schools work for all youth.
Thank you, Cheyenne. And our last speaker, Kai.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kai Uhara, and I am a member of the Both Coalition and also the current president of the Durfee's National Honor Society. I'm here to talk about two interrelated topics, youth involvement and also youth representation. I only really started enjoying school during my middle school years, and that's because I started participating in school activities during that time. Activities such as seasonal dances, sports, and other things. It was at this time that I really started to appreciate school. And once I got involved, and once I started to appreciate school, I started to really start caring for my school. However, during my 3 years in Henry Lord Middle School, I had 3 different principals, and my 8th grade year was certainly a rough time. And this was largely due to the constant and drastic changes happening in the school. It was at this time of instability that I felt some sort of responsibility to help the situation, to improve the atmosphere of the school that I had gradually built affection towards over my 3 years there. I attempted to revive the student government with a handful of my peers in my 8th grade. And while we had ample enthusiasm, there were still issues with that process. Although we had ideas, and although we wanted our voices to be heard, there was no solid adult connection between ourselves and the administration. And this was extremely disappointing. As a youth who was developing a sense of responsibility towards my school community, I felt that my voice and my efforts meant very little. I could only watch as the school that I cared about fall into increasing disarray. High school has been better for me. High school has been better for me. I've been more involved than ever before, and I'm extremely grateful for the chance to explore the many opportunities that Durfee offers. However, because of how involved I am, I've also been able to meet many students. And being someone who often assumes leadership roles, I've heard the issues that many of these students face. As I've said, Durfee offers tons of extracurricular opportunities to the students, but that isn't enough. These opportunities can't just be created. They also need to be maintained and supported. Here's an example. Durfee hosts both a mock trial team and a debate team. Both clubs are largely student-driven and exist as a facility for students to hone their academic and professional skills. But these undeniably beneficial activities are not free. As competitive clubs, they must annually purchase a place in their respective competitions. And along with travel costs, both of these clubs must come up with more than $1,000 a year to function. The clubs have resorted to asking for private donations to maintain their club. And while this has kept them afloat, I find that this is still an issue. The endeavors of youth in public schools should not have to resort to depending on funding from private sources. Sources which have no obligation to provide funding now or in the future to these activities. These clubs facilitate learning and professionalism in its members, and this should be celebrated and supported by the city and its faculties, not ignored. As a community, we should be more supportive of these activities that the youth want to be involved in. Because the more people are involved in their communities, the more they'll care. And to provide an outlet for the people and the youth who care about the community, there should be youth present on the committees that hold relevant impact on the youth. This includes the city council, school committees, and I also encourage other businesses to adopt a youth initiative, especially organizations whose main demographic are the youth, as it is important to know what your audience needs. The youth of the city desperately needs a consistent and impactful voice, as no decisions about us should be made without us.
Thank you, Kai. At this time, our helpers are going to be circulating with some clipboards for the candidates, and it'll be your opportunity to write a question for our youth, and then we'll ask those questions. So while that's going out, Tyra's going to tell us the next number of issues that showed up on our survey.
Teen pregnancy and sexual activity, poor health and body image, youth employment, suicide and self-harm, mental health for self and family, lack of transportation, and relationship violence.
So just to remind you, our youth, first of all, let's give our youth another round of applause. Had a specific ask for those of you who are running for office. Vanessa, raise your hand. Vanessa's ask was about self-harm and body image. Deshawn, raise your hand, was about morality of people in power and religion. Ava spoke about youth employment. Samaya talked about racism, bullying, and prejudice. Alexandra talked about support for foster youth and support for other youth that are in difficult circumstances. Brandon asked for more support for Shannon and anti-violence activities. Cheyenne talked about the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and questioning community. And Kai spoke about youth representation and support for things that happen, extracurricular activities in school. So as soon as you're done with your question, if you'll hold it up, they'll come collect them, and we'll be able to ask some of those questions to our panel. In the meantime, I want to tell you a little bit about some of the other things that showed up on our survey. We were so impressed to see how many kids took the survey seriously and what they had to say. One of the most talked about comments was to provide safe spaces for our youth outside of school. They all acknowledge the fact that we have a great Boys and Girls Club and a YMCA and Community Development and Recreation, or Great Fall River Recreation, and that there are some places to go. But we have many, many youth in town, and we also have many times when those buildings are not open. They asked over and over and over again for a place to go where they can connect with one another, talk to one another, and be safe. Our youth also spoke over and over again about support for the LGBTQ community, about the issues we have in our community about racism and bullying and prejudice. They talked about youth leadership opportunities, the ability for their voice to be heard, for them to be able to weigh in our community. Some asked to raise the minimum wage. Some asked for youth representation on city council, school boards, just like Kai mentioned, and addition for community service agencies. Funding for schools came up a number of times. Kids recognize the fact that schools need money in order to do the good work that they're already doing. They talked about funding for educational opportunities, for informal educational opportunities, and for the ability for class size to go down, and for them to be able to participate in a wide variety of activities. Mental health, depression, anxiety, self-harm, and suicide all showed up on our survey. Our youth are asking for help in these areas, not just for themselves, but for their families. They also talked about academic help outside of school, tutoring, mentoring, positive role models. One of my favorite comments was coffee with a cop, an opportunity for law enforcement and youth to sit down and have a cup of coffee together to break down barriers between law enforcement and youth. We talked about adult role models. We all assume that we are a good role model, but if we don't interact with the youth, how can we be that role model for them? Over and over again, our youth ask for job training. They want to know what the future is going to bring for them if they are not ready to enter into the job place. Gang violence came up, the pressure to be part of gangs, the pressure to be part of a culture that they really don't want but don't know how to exit from. Our kids also talked about more funding for parks and recreations, a bowling alley, a movie theater, an ice skating rink, someplace where they can go. And they talked about free and reduced bus passes for youth so that they can get around the city. The issue of transportation came up a number of times with the lack of transportation and how difficult it was for youth to get from one side of the city to the other. They also talked about pride in our city. One of the comments mentioned that when they read the paper, they see comments from adults about how unhappy they are with Fall River and how bad Fall River is. And they felt that if their role models, the adults, can't demonstrate pride in the city, then how could they ever have pride in the city? And they want to have pride in the city. I think the thing that struck me the most was the comment that said, we need to replace hopelessness and despair with hope and optimism. And as youth, we are the ones to make that happen. Michaela, are you ready for questions? Okay, so we'll get started on the questions, and anyone on the panel can feel free to chime in. So panel, one of the candidates would like to know, how do you feel we can end violence? What's in your heads?
I feel that we can end... Sorry? Hello? I feel that we can end violence if everybody comes together and realize what's going on in the actual city. Like places where we can go, other kids that we can connect with, that we can share our thoughts and how we feel with each other.
Also, I would like to add to that. That's a rather vague question, and so kind of depending on what violence you're addressing. So if it's relationship violence, which is also a topic that's addressed in our schools with the Katie Brown program and other such things, I think that those programs are really effective, but also I feel like having someone of an older age speak to the youth kind of makes the problem seem more distant, And I feel like if able, it would be nice to reach out to other youth groups and see if they have anyone that could contribute to these, like maybe assemblies, to really just demonstrate that these are issues that affect the youth, and it's much more relatable if youth are presenting these solutions. If it's things like gang violence or something along the lines of what Brandon mentioned, I feel that people really just turn to negative influences when they have nothing better to do with themselves. And I think that's really kind of where we need to have these youth involvement things, and why we need to have this youth representation, so that the youth can get their needs out to the community, so that they don't have the opportunity to turn to these negative, violent things.
I would also like to say, often youth are violent because they need another way to cope with other things going around in their life. So if we have a forum where teens can talk to each other, talk to peers, and kind of talk about different coping skills and different ways to kind of handle the stuff that they're going through in their life, that Fall River will become a less violent place.
Yeah, more support for these kids, because a lot of them feel like they're alone and they need somebody, you know what I mean? So the best thing we can really give them is a place that they can go, that they can really talk to somebody and just have a conversation and be able to connect with that person.
Thank you. What improvements do you think should be made to help improve the safety of all in our schools?
Okay, I think for that question, there's a lot of steps that we can take, and I'm hoping that we can take a lot of steps. I think that we already have so many policies that are already made and created. And I think if we just really enforce those policies, then the bullying would probably decrease, hopefully. And I think that we also need,
Things to improve bullying. I believe that people should listen more to the youth, because I feel like the adults don't intend to pay attention to the youth when the youth have concerns about if someone's talking about them behind their back, or if the youth's feeling bad about themselves because someone said this or spreading rumors around the school or something. I feel like the adults neglect them and reject them. So I feel like the adults need to pay attention more, and that will make a positive influence to the school as well.
Also, there are a lot of things in place to educate youth on bullying and kind of the ways to not do that and why it is harmful. But I also think having some type of forum put forth for adults, not just teachers or people who are in schools, but just parents, for people at the grocery store, just a place where teens go often, where they're educated on bullying, because there should be no reason where a youth is being bullied in front of any adult that's not a teacher.
Just to add on to what they were saying, it's just, we can create a lot of policies and put in rules in place like that, but if they're not being enforced, then how can we control the situation?
Great.
What should the city do to get more parents involved in youth programs?
Well, that's easy. Just create more activities for the adults. I don't know, like make events, post it all over Fall River to get adults to pay attention to these events, and to get them to come to the events so they can be part of and feel like they're making a change for the youth of Fall River.
Anyone else? How do you get your parents more involved?
I think just like an event like this gets parents more involved as well, just to get the opportunity to see their children like speak on stage and voice their opinions motivates more parents and adults to come.
And I also think, sorry to cut you off, but I also think that, because like my family is here with me today, but also reaching out to parents who, even though the event is kind of geared towards older youth, but parents who kind of have kids in elementary school too, because really to get them focused that our future is kind of their kids' future, and the more youth we get involved, essentially the more parents will get involved, because parents like to back up and support their children.
Thank you.
Many of the most important movements in our country's history were facilitated by the youth. What can we do as a city to get more youth involved in solving these problems outlined tonight?
I'm part of, like I mentioned before, the 84 movement, and that is the youth-led organization that combats smoking against teens. And this past weekend, we had an event called the Youth Power Summit, and we had over 77 of our chapters come, and it was just kind of an open forum where we can all get together. But to get more youth involvement, I think a lot goes to getting the word out there, because a lot of youth don't know what events are going on or when they're coming.
We should create a sense of unity within the youth by using the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA or any of the recreational centers that we have in Fall River, and really get the youth excited to be young and also to do something for the community, you know, and using the 84 movement and anything else that can really get us unified.
Also, I think that a major part of youth involvement is just getting people to be interested. Like, you need to present these opportunities for people to want to get involved. And as I was saying, I strongly believe that once you start getting involved with something, you're going to start caring about it because you put in all your time, all your effort. And this is really the first steps. Like, I feel in Durfee, a large, significant issue is that in the past year, I tried to put on quite a few events and quite a few things. And it's just hard to rally the students behind you because last year I was in student government, and people just don't really expect much from student government because they just don't support it. And it's hard for student government to do things if no one supports it. And it just creates this very bad cycle where the students don't expect anything, and then so the representatives don't feel like they can give anything. And we just really need the youth to realize that they have the opportunity, and they have the influence, and they have the power to make changes so that they start feeling more empowered, and so they start feeling like they can contribute.
I also want to go off of something that Kai said, but there are way too many times where decisions about youth are not made by youth, they're made by adults. So if you want more youth involvement, try to incorporate them more into the activities and events you are putting on, because no youth wants to attend an event that's about them but just filled with adults. They'll feel less represented and less likely to come.
To build on that question, a number of the candidates asked, what would you like to see in terms of youth involvement? How can they connect with you and you connect with them? What do you envision youth involvement would look like on this level?
Well, youth involvement on the committee level, I feel that, so Durfee is a school about, let's say 2,200 kids, which I think it is. And most of them, not most of them, but a large portion of them vote for our student government officers, and especially for student body president. And I feel like as a relatively large portion of the population of our city, that these votes should actually matter. And I feel that the student who's chosen by this large portion of our school is deserving of having a sitting position on a committee that represents the city. And so I would definitely recommend trying to really involve student government or also any of the other representative clubs in these decision-making committees.
I also feel like there's a wall between youth and adults in power in the city, and I think we need to work on breaking down that wall before we can get more and more youth involvement in things in the city. Youth need to, human power needs to speak to the youth, find out what they really want, and involve them in decision making, and I think that's what it all comes down to.
There are many times where youth will try to get back behind some of the adults, like campaigns and some of the stuff that you guys are doing. But if you want to see more youth involvement, get behind some of the things that we are doing. There are a lot of things that many of the people up here in this panel do to help out our community. And to see some of your faces at an event supporting us, knowing that you have our backs, will make us more likely to also have your backs.
So a number of the candidates wanted to know, how did you get involved? Brandon with Shannon, Kai with Gold, Vanessa with the 84 Club. What was your motivation, and how did you connect to those kind of things?
How I got involved in the Shannon program was just, I needed to change my life for the better for myself, for my family. I needed to move on. I can't dwell on the past and what I've done, and that's pretty much it.
I'm involved with family planning. I'm a peer leader. I feel like especially like RTC for me is like makes me build up leadership. So when I have that feeling of leadership, it makes me want to get more involved in leadership activities, and then it makes me want to like get involved with these wonderful youth here, and it makes me feel like I'm wanted and worth a voice. You know what I mean? So that the adults can hear us and they can see that we're actually getting involved and not just slacking off.
And I got involved with the 84 because a lot of the times I would leave Durfee or just walk around my community and I'd see a lot of teens smoking, and it's a really big health issue, and also realizing that I have younger cousins and kind of like family members that are younger, and I would not like to see them kind of get behind this product that was made to harm us. And kind of my main motivation was that this product, cigarettes, are really harmful for youth. So the fact that we're their target demographic through advertising is really kind of a concern for me. So that's what kind of inspired me to get behind the 84 movement.
Kai, you want to talk a little bit about how you got involved in BOLD?
Sure, why not? So I got...
First of all, can you define what BOLD is for those that might not know?
Sure. BOLD is an acronym that stands for Building Our Lives Drug-Free. It is a branch off of STAR, the Stanley Street Treatment and Prevention Center, and Rehabilitation Center, sorry about that. And so I was recommended to BOLD by my school's current adjustment counselor because she had moved along with me from my middle school. And she had kind of just realized that I was a student who was really interested in community involvement and also especially peer involvement and assuming leadership roles. And she felt that BOLD, with the things that they do, with the many workshops that we provide, and the other activities that we put on, it was just a good fit for me. And yeah, so as of now, I've given probably like maybe 8, maybe 10 workshops to like youth around this location. And they've mostly been about substance abuse, just healthy relationships, and other things like that. And I think this really just goes back to the fact that in middle school, like that's when I started getting involved, and that's when I started caring about what was going on around me. And she realized that, and because of that, she gave me a further opportunity to pursue these interests of mine.
Thank you.
If you had a friend you know that is having a drug problem, what would you do?
I would definitely help them. I would definitely get involved to help them in any way because I'm their best friend and I have their back, even though if the situation is bad or not, I would help them. I would try to get them adult support. I would help them in any way, shape, or form. I mean, depending on their situation or what they're going through, I can only do like a limited amount of support. So, I mean, I would just give them support.
Also, sometimes the reason why youth kind of have trouble going to certain adults and stuff like that for help is because we're not always completely insured with the fact that adults know how to respond. And I would hate to kind of say to an adult or reach out to an adult that my friend is going through this problem and they not handle it properly and it not kind of go the right way. So a lot would be education in youth and also education in adults.
I think if I had a friend who I knew that they were doing drugs and stuff, then of course I would do my best to support them. But there's only so, like, I can't do everything that an adult can do. I know that I would try to like talk to them and just try to get them into like some kind of program, or just I think that youth, they might not exactly go to an adult because they don't really trust many adults, and maybe they're even getting influenced by an adult in their life. That's why they're doing it. So I would try to refer them, or I can't really refer them, but I try to just, I try to get them to go to a program or a recreational center or something where they can just speak about like what made them start on drugs, and then hopefully they end it.
Would anyone call the police in that scenario? From any of the kids, would any of the kids call the police in that scenario?
What he's asking is if your friend was on drugs, would any of you call the police?
Yes.
Well, I think it depends on the situation, so could you like specify what drugs we're talking about?
That's a very good answer. You guys can decide. Maybe it's a different answer depending on what drug we're talking about. You elaborate for me, Kai.
All right. Well, I certainly think that I'm not a fan of having lowered inhibitions, and I think that doing things that intentionally lower your inhibitions in just your mental thought process is going to be detrimental regardless of your current situation. But I also think that this is a shame to say, but like kids are just curious about what's going on, and some of them just want to try things even if it's obviously not a good judgment call. And so I feel like it's definitely necessary to not stigmatize drugs to the point where students and youth are too afraid to admit to their problems, but it's also important to be stringent and make them realize that even though they may be doing these things now, they're very likely going to have a detrimental effect. And also, that's the issue. Many students just don't think that these things are going to have a detrimental effect on them. And I feel like that's definitely, it's kind of talked about in health classes, but I mean, no one really wants to spend an entire semester talking about drugs, even though it's such a prevalent issue in our city.
I said yes, depending on the situation, because I was going to elaborate on that. But if my friend was overdosing on a drug, of course I would call 911, call the police and let them know that that was going on. But if my friend is experimenting with drugs and drugs that are not safe, that can potentially have them dead or overdose on something like that, of course I would tell an adult or somebody that I know.
Okay, Cheyenne and it's mine, okay?
I think a big problem with drugs in the city and teens is that not a lot of teens know about the programs in the city to help with drugs, like STAR or BOLD or things like that. So I think a big problem is also health classes. We don't get the kind of education we need. We learn about the effects of drugs, we learn about the effects of it on your mind and your body, but we don't learn about where to get help.
It's mine?
Okay. I think, back to the question that you had asked, I think I wouldn't really call the cops until it came to that point. I think if I knew that they were like doing it very often, or like the dose I guess that they were taking, or if I knew that the drug had a lot of defects or like a lot of long-term effects that could really just ruin their future, then I think that's the time where I would.
Thank you. We're going to move on.
This is a question from the audience.
And this will be our last question.
I'm an employee of the alternative middle school. What could have been done for you as a middle schooler in order for you to have felt more supported and change your path sooner?
So what could have happened in middle school that would have given you a better path?
I was in 6th grade year. The one thing that I really wish I had was a trusted adult, or somebody who, like, they knew the signs and the signs that like I was being a victim, and I wish that they would. We never meet our any of the counselors unless we need something, and with all honesty, I didn't know who the counselors were. And I think that like would have, I think if I did have a trusted adult at the time, then it would have positively like changed everything, my whole middle school.
Anyone else want to weigh in?
Also, for me, middle school is not one of the happiest moments in my life. That's when I kind of started hurting myself and felt the most ashamed about who I was and how I was in my own skin. And something that really could have helped me throughout middle school was there's a lot of stigmas put on people who have these problems that kind of make them feel like they're not worth kind of speaking out, and to kind of really, something that would really specifically help me would be more or less like, kind of instead of identifying myself and speaking out directly to an adult, kind of an anonymous system where I could just be like, hey, I'm having this problem, could you connect me to something or someone who could help me? Because kind of believe it or not, I'm not a person who likes direct kind of confrontation. So kind of pointing me to somewhere where I can still have some type of anonymous but also supportive coping and somewhere to venture to would really help.
Thank you.
Also, just something that I would like to say is kind of to touch back to my Henry Lord skit days, where there wasn't an actually significant student government. I feel like also providing the opportunity for youth to have like leadership roles, especially like in the younger ages, is a really good way to secure firm leaders into the school communities. And then I feel like if these leaders develop a sense of competency and they realize that they can contribute and that they can do things, and this travels into the high school years, I think that we'd be seeing a lot more youth involvement in high school and also just a significantly more accurate representation, because the students in middle school will start to develop a sense of relationship with their representatives in middle school.
Thank you. So, we have tremendous pride in our youth. Give them a round of applause. I would also like the other youth that are not on the panel that have been involved in the program to stand up so we can recognize you as well. Those that have been running around handing out clipboards and were on the radio. Our youth are exceptionally brave. It is difficult to open up in public this way. Some of them had very difficult and personal stories that they shared with you. But they are representative of many, many youth in Fall River. Their stories and their presence is a microcosm of what happens in our society. Their presence here tonight shows their commitment to change. Their presence here tonight shows their hope in the future. And their presence here tonight shows their willingness to be part of the solution. They know that you don't have a magic wand that you're going to wave tomorrow and fix all their problems. They know that. They want to be taken seriously. The ideas that they put forth today took a lot of thought and a lot of energy. And their voices resonate with all the other youth in our city. So now, we're going to ask each one of you to take the podium. We're going to give you 1 minute. We want you to pledge something for our youth. In a minute, Tyra will give you the question. But we want you to know, before we ask you to pledge, our youth have already pledged to work with you to bring about positive change for Fall River. Our question, Tyra?
Hearing what our panelists just had to say, what specific new action will you pledge to initiate for the youth of Fall River?
We're going to pick your names out of the hat. You'll have 1 minute. We have a countdown here, no buzzer, so you got to watch it. We'll let you finish your thought at the end of 1 minute, but we will not let you go past that, past the box. And our first speaker will be
Daniel Riga.
There's a podium right over here.
Well, thank you very much, and it's so inspiring to see you here tonight, along with many future elected officials, and this is just great. I think it should be a little bit longer. It seems like time's flying. But what I plan to pledge to each and every one of you is to listen to each and every one of you, to embrace any opportunity that I have as an elected official to go to any forum that you might invite me to. I want to pledge to you, to each and every one of you, that I know to some degree, at least with most of you, that in every single scenario that you have, I've suffered through that. I've suffered through every single thing that you all have. And I think that's what makes it so extraordinary that I got picked for the first one, because I was in your situation. I was homeless. I was in your situation, that I was discriminated. And you're the reason why I'm standing here today. And also with sexuality, let me tell you something. I'm here to embrace, not to judge. I accept.
Thank you.
Oh,
we appreciate it.
I could go on, but nevertheless, thank you.
I know it's very tempting to go on. I will let you finish your thought, but I'm really tough. I am going to stop you. Okay.
Richard Cabeceras.
We'll start the timer when you start to speak, so you get those extra seconds. Don't fret.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Richard Cabeceras. I'm a candidate for City Council. First, I want to thank you all for being so brave to come out here and tell us about your life issues. It's important that we hear this, and I've never had the opportunity to hear from so many of you at one time. Thank you so much for your courage, and I want to give you a round of applause again. If I'm elected, and even if I'm not elected to City Council, I'll continue to promote cultural diversity, to promote more knowledge on cultural differences, and to promote more growth toward allowing various cultures, whether religious, whether ethnic, in order to be able to express themselves. It's important that we realize that there are more people on this earth than just ourselves, and we need to express that. We need to get out into the parks, and we need to promote their ethnicity through food, through the way they portray themselves, clothing, and celebrate our differences. So I pledge that to you folks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Joseph Camara.
First of all, I also want to commend all of you on your bravery. What you spoke about today and the answer that you gave to the questions that we asked was really spectacular, and I'm very proud of each and every one of you. The question what I'm going to pledge is the question that you read: how would the city get parents to be more involved? That was a question that I asked. And what I pledge to you is, as you had mentioned, you need to get earlier children more involved. I pledge to hold a sporting event, whether it's a soccer game or a basketball game or some type of sporting event, where parents and children are going to come together and be part of the same team to learn how to work with each other and play with each other and have fun with each other, and also learn that children have just as much to give to parents, and children also know the importance of having teamwork together with adults and young people all working together. So I pledge I will have that event throughout the year.
Thank you.
Stephen Camara.
Hi, I'm Steve Camara, candidate for City Council. I've done some work on prejudice reduction, and I commit to continuing to do that kind of work. Also, I'm committed to reminding people that we have a shared responsibility, and I would ask us to remember the word shared as an acronym that means overcoming sexism, heterosexism and homophobia, ageism, S-H-A, R for racism, religious-based prejudice, E for ethnic, educational or economic status, classism, and D for disability. And would remind people that we all have a shared responsibility to overcome prejudice wherever it exists. And I'm also committed to, in my senior years, to commit to a center in downtown Fall River that would be a youth center that I'm willing to invest in to make this work for all of us for our future.
Thank you.
Gabriel Andre.
Hi, I'm Gabe Andre from the school committee, and I would like to say that I'm tremendously impressed with all of you. I hope you just take it on from here, that you just don't stop. Interestingly enough, before I came here, I had thought about the question that's been posed to us. Interestingly enough, one of the people on this stage actually said exactly, almost word for word, what I would have said, and that was Shania. And what I would like to pledge is that I am going to ask the superintendent to include as part of the professional development that is offered at the mid-year, something on bullying. It's a tremendously important issue. It's very prevalent, and often, and all of you were astute enough, 3 of you at least were astute enough to know that despite the fact that we have policies, they're only as good as their enforcement. And I think all faculty and administrators should receive some professional development concerning bullying and its ramifications. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason Kennedy.
Hi, my name is Jason Kennedy, candidate for City Council. I want to commend you because I've been in your shoes, at least some of your shoes. I've been bullied, I've been in that situation, and I definitely don't think I could do what you're doing tonight. I don't think I would have done that when I was your age. So I'm very, very amazed by that. What I think that I can do as a city councilor, and I can do as a private citizen, is I can give you a seat at the table. And I think that's what you want. I think that's what you deserve. I don't think that you should say future voter. I think you should say future leader on all of your attacks, because that's what we need is future leaders like yourselves. And I need people like you on the boards that I'm on. I'm on Spindle City Ballet. I could use people like you on the board to tell me how to reach out to people in the youth community. But we did have a liaison for the city council. One of them, in fact, the only one I know ever existed, is sitting right here. And we should bring that back. And I'd like to see one of you be on the council as a liaison. I believe it's actually a council position that it was. So that's what I promised.
Thank you. And can't express how profound I found that all of your stories here tonight. And you certainly should all be proud of not only the organizations that you are involved with, but your courage to come here tonight and to express that to not only the current elected officials, but those who are looking to fill their seats. Back in 2009, I offered and was of assistance to the Bold Coalition and a number of youth organizations with creating the Youth Bill of Rights. I signed that document. It's proudly displayed in the foyer at Government Center. One of the initiatives of that was spoken here tonight was restoring the youth voice to the school committee. And Superintendent and I have spoken about that and look to make that happen again. We, for a number of years, had youth voice on the committee, and I agree with you, Vanessa. It's about time that if we want you to have our backs, that we need to have yours. And that too many times, decisions about youth are made outside of the input from youth, and that needs to change. And I look forward to it, and I pledge to make that happen. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you all for speaking from your heart tonight. That was very well said and very hard to do. And what I pledge to all of you tonight is that before you leave here, you're going to have my cell phone number. And as a city councilor, I will make sure that you have my number so that you can call me whenever you are having meetings, and I will try to make meetings so I can hear everybody's voice. But you'll also have my ear to anything that I can do to help any one of you in any way. And that's my pledge to you. Thank you.
Leo Pelletier.
Thank you very much. You know, 50 years ago, we didn't go through this problem, I don't think. And tonight, to sit here and listen to what is going on with our youths in the school. I mean, it's heart-wrenching to see what's going on. But, you know, I've been on the council for a long time. A lot of the mail comes in and piles on my desk, piles on my desk. And from now on, I'm going to pay more attention of what is going on with all the organizations that you belong to. And I'm going to make sure, I promise you, that when it comes in, I will act on it. Or if you've got something coming up, I will be there for you people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Karen Panchley.
Hi, good evening. And I too want to thank you for coming tonight and your bravery and courage really and sharing your stories with us. I, for one, can say I can't relate to a lot of the issues that you're going through as youth. So something like this and being in tune with you is really important because I haven't been through many of the things. Maybe one person I could identify with, but it was nice to be able to really hear from you tonight. And to that note, and Mr. Costa alluded to, and I confirmed with a little text message during the event, at our November school committee meeting, we will start having a representative from Durfee High School and RPS at the table with us at our meetings. So one pledge to you is that I will listen to what those representatives have to say, and they will have true input into what we're discussing. And secondly, I remember middle school, and that theme has come through a little bit, even though you're not at middle school anymore. And so I'll be looking to talk to the superintendent and other committee members about support groups that I think should be started in the middle school. I think we've done an okay job in high school with some of the groups. I think we need to start at a younger age, and I think middle school is a really good place to start looking at supporting our youth. So I pledge you to
Paul Hart.
Okay, thank you very much, and I too want to congratulate all of you for coming here tonight. I think it's give you a big thumbs up for doing what you're doing. And I think there's a lot of things that I can pledge to you tonight, and a lot of things have been mentioned, but I think one is that we talk about safe places, and the Boys Club and the Fall River Y were mentioned. Well, I kind of think that our schools are safe places, and I think that we could do more in our schools, whether it's an after-school program where my boys go, expensive board in the CFC. I'm not talking about that part. I'm talking about maybe creating more opportunities in your schools, whether it's elementary schools for kids my son's age, middle school or high school, and to maybe have discussions or forums at those particular schools with the students. We always talk about and profess for a professional learning community, but I think we can also include that in there as well. And that's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Paul Creed.
I'm lucky because I know most of these guys, and it's great to see them like this. They did a great job tonight. Here's what I pledge. I pledge to do exactly what I was doing when I was at Durfee. I will be at your events. I will help you put them on. I will go to your clubs. But because I was only at Durfee, I got expanded out to all the schools. I will be at the middle school parents' meetings. I will be at the elementary schools. Not every single one, but I can guarantee you if I get the opportunity to work with you guys and to work with you guys, I will be extremely visible and enthusiastic for the programs they described and for others we can put in place to help you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Raymond Mitchell.
Thank you. I too am amazed at the courage each and every one of you display. I believe that we need in our middle schools to have a center for our youngsters who are having problems, that they can go there after school and get the help that they truly need. That we're doing it at Durfee, I think we should be doing it at our middle schools. And I pledge to you that I am going to be talking to the superintendent and ask if that is a possibility, not a possibility, make it a reality. We need centers where youngsters can go to when they have a problem, and people who will listen to them and understand what type of problems they have and deal with those problems. Because if you're talking to someone and they're not listening, it's not doing either side any good. But when we have a center that a youngster can go to, or a high school student can go to, and get some type of relief when they're being bullied, I'll tell you, I think that will make a tremendous difference in each and every one of your lives. Again, congratulations for being here. You've done a heck of a job tonight, and you brought to the city of Fall River's attention a problem that needed to be addressed and needs to be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pam Liberty LeBeau.
Thanks for waiting. There we go. Thank you for having us all here tonight, and the confidence that you've all shown by speaking to a room full of people is really, really inspiring. One of the second things that you mentioned on the list was safe places outside of school. As the president of the St. Anne's Neighborhood Association, we spent a lot of time revitalizing Kennedy Park. There were always lots of kids hanging out at the park, and a lot of adults that would complain that there were all these kids hanging out at the park. They automatically assumed they were up to no good. What we quickly realized, and what we were told by a very caring police officer, was that these kids were good kids, but it was safer for them to be at the park all day rather than to be at home. My pledge to you would be to work to create more activities, more safe places outside of school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Maynard.
I want to thank you for being here tonight. I see most of you have a lot of problems in the school system, but I want to pledge to you that I will keep drugs out of the school department. There's no way we should have drugs in the school department. I will pledge tonight to make sure that we work hard on keeping drugs out of the school system. Like that young fella said tonight, he was on drugs, he got out of it. I'll speak to maybe old monthly meetings and talk about drugs. The more children and students we can get to come to their meetings, they'll be better off. So I'll pledge that tonight. And thanks for coming here tonight.
Thank you.
Sean Connell.
Hi guys. I just want to say I face a lot of things you guys faced. I'm an openly gay man myself. I'm only a few years older than you guys. I was put under the high stakes pressure testing that you guys are being put under. I work at Youth Build Fall River, where we have kids who dropped out of school because they couldn't deal with the pressure. One student, straight B student, didn't pass math MCAS, and now she has to come to Youth Build. Two things I want to pledge to you is, one, I want to talk about LGBT issues. I want to talk about the fact that it's easier to kill yourself than talk about who you are. I want to talk about identity, and I want to talk about race. I want to talk about discrimination. And finally, I don't want you to just have a seat at the table at the school committee. You need to have a vote at the school committee. Because without a vote, then you're not actually empowered. So I want to
Thank you.
Trap Joseph Lee.
Thank you for having me. First of all, obviously I'm a person of color, half black, half Cape Verdean. I never felt brave whenever I was feeling racism come my way, and I haven't had anyone call me brave. So please listen to these people. Some of them are going to be more sincere than others, but you are brave to go up there, to be on stage. And I think it's easier now in 2015 than it was when I was growing up back in the 1800s. So I feel as though we have progressed culturally so far, And I don't even think that the things you're going through 20, 30 years from now were going to be a problem. And it's because of moments like this. I need to make a pledge. I got 15 seconds. I pledge to you advocacy. I pledge to you leading by example. I pledge to you effort, no matter whether I'm a city councilor or not. I'm always going to be on the side of people who want their voices heard, no matter how old they are. Thank you.
Actually, I want to say that what I heard tonight was not at all a surprise to me. As a counselor and a psychologist, I've heard these stories many times before. What I heard tonight was adversity, overcoming adversity, and tremendous resilience on the part of these students. I also heard, what I didn't hear tonight, was that the issues that these students have represented are on the radar screens of the adults in our schools. When the adults in our schools find what you're concerned about to be as important as their standardized test scores, maybe we can go somewhere. And I would just like to say, thank you, I would like to say this, that I pledge, I will do all I can to make sure that there are sufficient counselors and mentors, especially in the middle schools, to make sure that students will have somebody that they can turn to when they need the kind of help that they deserve to get. And I also want to pledge that if I'm not elected, I will mentor any one of you in any one of your groups, because that's how important I consider you. Thank you.
Linda Kerr.
All I'm going to say is you guys rock. I have to be like Dr. Costa to tell you that there's not one story that you said that I haven't sat down one-on-one with a child to discuss, whether it be racism, whether it be mutilation, cutting, gay and lesbian problems, violence. And Brandon, I got to tell you, I know you talked to me that you're in this violence group, and I see your arm's broken. As an investigator, I say, how did he break his arm? So, I was a teacher, an investigator with DCF, so I dealt with lots of kids who had an unfortunate situation at home, and my job was to get them someplace safe. I get it. As an investigator with the district attorney's office, I see it. And I will make you a pledge. The Fall River City website should have on its website a list of all the activities that are going around in the city on a weekly basis. It should be posted on the website. Mr. Mayor, can you see to that that be posted on the website so I fulfill my commitment as well? Another thing, I think that the Kennedy Park Bridge needs to be used every week. Pam, I'll work with you on that.
Thank you very much.
Stephen Lund.
Watching you guys up there, there is hope for our city. You guys did a great job. I just want to single out one person that touched my heart, was Deshaun. He was a Boys Club. His faith in God. I'm a Boys Club kid, come from the Flint. It's a great organization. I think we need to promote all of those organizations, Youth Build, Boys Club, YMCA, get people involved there. There are a lot of people that can help you. I've worked just today, not just today, but over the past couple of months, in talking with a organization in the city of Fall River, ASICS PAC. It's not about him, but we are putting together, and I can announce it tonight, Peace Through Partnerships. This is a police department going to the Boys Club and through other organizations where we unite some of the kids in Fall River with the police in Fall River, presenting them trophy bats to the police for the good job that they do. That's my pledge to you. That is going to come true, and it's going to come true very soon.
Thank you
very much.
Jason Craig.
Evening. This is a great, great day to see so many young people doing something that
I did just a few years ago. I was on that stage just like many of you. And I'm just so proud to see that, and I want to give you guys a big round of applause again. This shows what young people in our community can accomplish, how intelligent they are, how they know the issues that are affecting them, and how they deserve a seat at the table with a voice and a choice. When I was part of the Youth Bill of Rights, that's exactly what our mantra was, a voice and a choice. And if I'm elected mayor, I will bring back the Mayor's Youth Council. That doesn't exist anymore. And you will all have a voice and a choice on every decision that this city makes. I will make sure that you're involved, not only in the city council, but in the mayor's office. And you will have my ear, you will have my word, and I'll also listen and take your advice. Because I remember when I was sitting in your seats, how much advice I would give to adults, and how so many times they would take that advice. And we're going to together, all of you here in this room and out there in the school system, make Fall River a better place. Thank you so much.
Earl Gaudette.
Thank you. On the way up, I happen to mention I'm not used to sitting that long. I'm a very active person. I have called myself the voice of the residents, and I feel that I would like to represent the residents, and for the residents of Fall River who allow me to speak for them, I would like to thank this whole invitation that you've invited to us to be here with you this night. And I'd like to return to the residents of Fall River who are listening that you and we would also like to thank them for paying attention to what's going on. We have many things to be grateful for in the city of Fall River. And one of the things is that we live here. I am a product of Fall River, the Fall River educational system. My mother and father were also products of Fall River. I married my high school sweetheart. We had 6 children educated in the Fall River school system, who gave us 14 more and 4 great-grandchildren. I can say that we love Fall River.
We're happy to give you 10 more seconds to give your pledge, but your time is up, okay? So we'll give you 10 more seconds to give your pledge.
Time goes by so fast. How many seconds do I have?
Well, start talking and I'll let you know.
Right. Yeah, you know, you have to figure that all of my children, with the exception of one...
I think we need to get to your pledge. What will you be pledging for the youth?
Please? Listen, with 14 grandchildren, and I asked them what their problems were, and they told me that they do not have a problem. They are not aware of a problem, and I think what we have done is we've had to set the example for our children. I pledge here now that any problem that no one else wants to handle, I'll work with you on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Joseph Martin.
I'm Joe Myers, currently seeking re-election to the school committee. In my career, I have been in 3 school systems. The students of all 3 are much similar to you. Everyone had problems, everyone from domestic abuse to bullying to discrimination. Neither of those items are acceptable. If you're experiencing that, then please find someone to talk to, a school official, the police department, your clergy, so that it doesn't boil up in you and you do something really stupid. Right? My pledge is that when you graduate from high school, I want you to be college and career ready. Career ready is more than just filling out an application. It's what can you do? What are you going to, what can you have as far as experiences and knowledge that will get you higher? That's my pledge to you.
Thank you.
Cliff Ponte.
I will say that When I was at Durfee, Kai, I was actually the student representative to the school committee. And it was something that, to me personally, meant a lot. I don't feel that anybody sitting at this front row needs to be elected in order to commit to you. Kai, you mentioned tonight that mock trial and some events, you're looking for some private donations. You have to raise some money. I'm committing to you, I'm going to give you my phone number tonight. I'm committing $500 to Durfee High School in your program to make sure your peers can go and perform anything that they need to do. That's a promise. I'm going to give it to you. If I could give it to you now, I would, but I'll give it to you tomorrow. In addition to that, I will work with the president of the city council, as well as the superintendent and members of the school committee as well, to make sure that there is a liaison at both the council meetings and the school committee meetings. And if I'm fortunate enough to be elected to the city council, any one of you ever wants to pull up a chair right on the side of me, you are welcome to. So thank you.
Thank you.
Jordan James Sylvia.
Thank you. So I'm already starting to hear what I would say, maybe a few silly comments from the front row. Christmas comes in November, an election season. I would guarantee there's more courage and ideas on the stage than there probably is coming from this front row. The problem that you guys face is your kids, and young adults, and adults think they know better than you, so you have a tough audience because then you have politicians and they think they know more than the fellow adults, you know? So my pledge to you is, my name's Jordan James Sylvia. If any of you guys, I've been fighting against them, 'cause here's the thing too, they say they're gonna listen to you, right? But I've gone and spoke to them for the last year, and it's like speaking to this wall. And again, it's easy to say they're gonna listen to you. If you guys have an issue, Jordan James Sylvia, I won't give you my phone number because that's like 30 years ago. Friend request me on Facebook. If I can do anything to help any of you, forget politics or whatnot, just look me up and I'll do the best I can. And I appreciate you guys coming up here. Thank you.
Joshua Silva.
Thank you. I think you all did a tremendous job tonight, definitely. I think everybody, I could ask for another round of applause, but a few people have already done that. But from sitting here listening, there's two issues that I kept hearing as a theme. The youth do not trust adults, and you need more activities going on in the city. And I think both of those can easily be accomplished right away. And I pledge to you that I will be an adult you can trust, and I'll also advocate for more activities that can be done in the city. Pam spoke about being in the parks. When I was a kid, we could stay in the park till real late at night. The lights are on. The police knew we were there. They know who was, what the kids were doing. They could keep track of us. So I will pledge to advocate for more activities and to be an adult you can trust. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean Kadeem.
First off, let me start by saying thank you for your courage. Today's forum was actually refreshing. I actually get tired of listening to myself answer questions and telling people what I think is wrong, so it's nice to hear what the issues are coming from you. First of all, I want to pledge two things. I'd like to pledge a lot more, but what I do want to pledge is, number one, as a city councilor if elected, that when we start approving budgets, especially the Community Development Block Grant, that we have funding for programs such as youth violence, CD Rec, Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA. Kristen McCluskey does a tremendous job on the city side for the Shannon Grant, so I want to commit that we work with all our global delegations to make sure that we continue that grant. Second commitment that I want to make is that every issue that you discussed today revolves around public safety. So I want to work with my colleagues to ensure that we have a student representative and a student voice on the public safety committee, so that every time we have a public safety committee, you are there voicing your concerns of the students, the youth, and it's being encouraged from the police chief, the fire chief, and every single counselor, and every single resident that attends those meetings. Thank you.
Samuel Sutter.
Well, like everybody here and everybody watching, I was extremely impressed with your courage, your bravery, all words like that. Beginning with Vanessa, I couldn't believe it when you openly started to discuss your issues of self-esteem and self-harm. And each and every one of you have had the courage to confront and deal with the obstacles that you face. But I'm concerned with the kids who don't have that courage. Just as I'm concerned with the kids who are already, and I hear the stories, starting to give up on their dreams in 7th, 8th grade. I hear the stories. And the problem for us in Fall River is that opiates and other drugs exist out there as a lure for kids who don't have the courage that you have, and for kids who are already starting to give up on their dreams. So I pledge to you, if re-elected, that I will do everything I can to put together the best opiate abuse, drug abuse prevention program in the schools, starting in the middle schools, that we as a city can put together for the kids who don't have the courage you have, and for the kids who are starting to give up on their dreams, so that they do not turn to the lure of opiates and other drugs. Thank you all very much.
So now that all our candidates have had a chance to speak, I think it is our turn as the panel to applaud your courage and your commitment to us. And I'd like to call to the microphone Jay.
As we wrap up tonight's event, I'd like to get one more round of applause for the panelists and our wonderful moderators. Yourself, why are you here? Has something happened in your life that was never addressed? I can tell you why I'm here. During all the years that I was bullied, not once did a teacher ever step in and do something. Not once did they ever say something. So candidates, what can you do for these students? What can you do for these schools? I also want you to remember that not every student was as lucky as I was. I had Peaceful Coalition, I had Tom Corey, and I had Pauline. I was able to find my voice because of all of these organizations. One way to help is to save the date for a further youth discussion. On Wednesday, November 4th, at the Boys and Girls Club at 3:30 to 4:30, we will be hosting an anti-racism discussion. Remember, there is no change without a collective involvement to generate initiatives to help these youth in this city. Thank you.
So to wrap up our night, first I do want to point out, we're so proud of Jay, who's come back to our community and is dedicating a year of her life as an AmeriCorps member, rather than taking a real job, because you don't make a lot of money as an AmeriCorps member, to help in these issues. And Jay will be working with the Anti-Racism Task Force from United Neighbors and our Youth Violence Prevention Task Force. So we ask you to please save that date, Wednesday, November 4th at 3:30. You can sign up before we leave and give us your contact information so we can let you know what's going on in the community for youth. We can't do it without you. One of my favorite bands has a great line. Once in a while, you get shown the light In the strangest of places, if you look at it right, our youth shine tonight. Thank you.